People who have the guts to ask their crush out. What happened afterwards? We went out on a date and I learned she was not the one for me after all. But it was a good lesson, and had I not asked her out I just agonized over what might have been. I realized I developed crushes easily and had pretty bad taste. She said yes and we went out to dinner and saw a movie together. Dropping her off, we kissed on her parents' front porch for what seemed like forever. A dad thought so too because he started flicking the porch lights on and off. Good times. Haha, I got rejected and now it's awkward. My sophomore, her junior year of college, we got introduced through mutual friends and it just kept running into each other because of our mutual friend groups. This went on for a month. We'd hang out and chat and flirt jokingly. I didn't think I had a chance with her being a pretty, popular girl a year older than me, so I figured she was just being nice, returning my jokes and all. It turns out she didn't think she had a chance with me and also thought I was just being nice, friendly with my jokes. Her and her friends would always joke, when will I be with you, thermal climber? He's the light of my life. And so I didn't think of it as any less of a fun joke when she did it. One night we both went out to a bar party with a group of friends and ended up going home with different people. We were chatting about it the next day and I was like, duck, this hurts a little. Is this feelings? A couple days later she mentioned that the guy wanted to grab lunch with her and she wasn't sure she was into him the same way. I was walking her home and thought that if I didn't say something I'd regret it. So I gambled that maybe all that joking flirting from her was real. Told her I had feelings for her, and then spent the longest 5 seconds of my life waiting to hear I'm glad you said something, because I like you too. It's been 2.5 years and we're still going strong. We went out on a date and I learned she was not the one for me after all. But it was a good lesson, and had I not asked her out I just agonized over what might have been. She said yes. Asked her out on a second date. Specifically said the word date this time. She said she didn't know we were going out on dates. Oh well. I realized I developed crushes easily and had pretty bad taste. Haha, I got rejected and now it's awkward. He said he wasn't looking for a girlfriend but he was interested if it was sex only. I politely declined. I actually asked her to a dance and she said no. Half a year later I asked another crush to a dance and she said no. Then half a year after that I asked a different crush to the dance and guess what? Holy duck, she said yes. I was duck-eyed confused, I wasn't used to that answer. She said she wants to go out on a date. 1 led to 2, 3, etc. Sunday I'm gonna try and kiss her after our concert. Edit. She cancelled. I sat next to her in the university cafeteria. It was really awkward. Then one of her friends came by and made it more so. Turns out we were both really shy, but had a mutual interest in geekery like sci-fi. We've been married 15 years now. He screamed no and ran away. This was in the 5th grade. She said no, but not a hard no. I'm not interested, just I already have other plans or something similar. The same thing the next time I asked her. Repeat for 18 times. The 19th time she went out with me. By the 4th date or so we were talking in terms of when we get married. That was 46 years ago. Married for 43 years now. More in love than ever. She punched me in the arm and said duck yeah. Then we went on the most awkward nerd date because we just wanted to like each other. It was a good nerd date. We are still dating to this day. Asked mine out today. Have a date on Friday. She thought I was joking. We're still friends. But it was pretty awkward. He was the head chef where I worked and I was new in town. We always sat in the same booth during our breaks and got to know each other over the course of a month and found out we had a lot in common. One night before I left I wrote my number down to give it to him and to ask him out. We asked each other, do you wanna hang out? At the same time, and then blushed. Our first date was at a rooftop bar celebrating a co-worker's birthday. He asked me if he could kiss me. That's when I knew he was the one. Now, years later, we have a beautiful baby boy that we love more than each other. He still has my phone number in his wallet. We're getting married on Saturday. She's sitting next to me in our apartment playing Minecraft. Never thought she'd actually be interested in me. I guess I was selling myself short. Do it OP. Could be the best thing you ever do. Well, we've had someone ghost me, a bunch of standard rejection, me ducking up terribly with one person in particular and never getting the chance again, and one person admit that they were interested in someone else. Rejected and worse, he bullied me all through high school. He refused me, politely telling me he's actually male. I thought he was a girl. I told her I loved her on the first date. She said what? I said it again in case she didn't bloody hear right the first time. A bit later we're still together. So far it's the best decision I've ever made. We met on Tinder and after about a month or so of seriously talking and hanging out we were laying in bed about to fall asleep and I asked him to be my boyfriend. The next morning we talked about it and he said he thought it was in a dream that I asked, but still stood by his answer 100%. That was 8 months ago and we are still happily dating. Turns out she's a cannibal. Really? You think I'm that cute? He gave me a hug and I felt his back muscles rippling through his t-shirt. I'm totally using this as an excuse to feel your back muscles, I told him. He hugged me tighter. He's one of my closest bros, and one of the few people I can be utterly, grotesquely open with. 22 years later we live 1,500 miles apart but we still text often. I've had multiple crushes. All of them rejected me and never talked to me again. We met on Tinder and after about a month or so of seriously talking and hanging out we were laying in bed about to fall asleep and I asked him to be my boyfriend. The next morning we talked about it and he said he thought it was in a dream that I asked, but still stood by his answer 100%. That was 8 months ago and we are still happily dating. I told her I loved her on the first date. She said what? I said it again in case she didn't bloody hear right the first time. Bit later we're still together. So far it's the best decision I've ever made. I was an idiot and told him that I wanted to include him in my harem, and he got confused but then realized I just confessed my feelings for him. Cue the I liked you too are so pretty and me freaking out, because I didn't think I'd get this far. He then stopped me and said we weren't gonna date yet BC he had issues he wanted to sort it. 3 months later, a lot of romantic tension, and we began dating. Now, we're a month away from our first anniversary. I confessed to my crush at a homecoming rally. He said I know. That was it. He recently came out and I'm happy for him. We're still together 15 years later. Happy and in love. Apparently I was the catch, but didn't realize. When I asked them out, they just looked at me and said these exact words. You know you're ugly and I'm pretty, right? I gave up on love after that but then one of my other crushes asked me out. When I first asked her out, we knew each other for about 4 months. She blocked off though, but didn't specifically say no. I asked her out a second time 3 months later, but she blocked off again, telling me she wasn't sure whether it was okay to meet. I continued flirting with her, but eventually started chasing her. Once I realized my mistake and that she stopped showing interest, I stopped chasing her and flirting with her. I didn't show any interest whatsoever for the next 8 months and just acted the same friendly way I acted towards friends. I had basically given up on her although I was still kinda interested. I just didn't show that I was still interested. Eventually, over a year after I asked her out the second time, she apologized for blocking me off, told me she made a mistake and asked me whether I still wanted to meet up with her. I told her I didn't mind and now we've been dating for 4 months. I guess sometimes it's really difficult for two socially awkward people to start dating each other. She said yes. We got married and had kids, coming up on 15 years together. He came out to me. I was very surprised, and he seemed very scared to tell anyone. I was the first person he had ever come out to, and he was terrified. I helped him through the process of eventually coming out to his extremely religious parents, who accepted it very well. He's now in an amazing relationship and one of my closest friends. Not exactly my story, as it is his, but when I was in high school I had this huge crush on this guy in my friend group. Gamers, nerds, outcasts, etc. Starting from the 9th grade. He was seriously the funniest person I had ever met, and he was so cool because of it. All my female friends would tell me to just ask him out, but I couldn't because I was so afraid he would say no and make fun of me for the rest of my high school experience. In my junior year he left to go to a different school, but we still kept in touch because his cousin, who also went to the school, became my best friend. To this day, she had managed to give me his number, and after mustering up the courage to text him, he was actually engaged in conversations with me, even though I was lanky and gross. Then the texting fell off and we grew distant in our senior year. One day my bestie had a family event at her house and my crush was there. We all had such a good time and I realized that my feelings, which had merely been in hibernation, were back and stronger than ever, but he was probably too cool to notice me. Later that day after I went home he messaged me, told me he really liked me, and wanted to date. We dated for almost a year before I had to leave for college and duck up my life entirely. Moral of the story is ask them out, cause maybe they'll say yes. PS. If you're put there D, I'm really ducking, sorry. 3rd grade. He showed everyone the gift I made him and everyone laughed at me for weeks. I thought it was a nice gift, made it myself. Apparently not. Not my story, but a friend's. She gave her crush an ultimatum. Something like, we are not kids. I like you and I wanna know if you like me back. They are married now. Every time I have a crush on someone but realize they are also into me, I start finding flaws in them that makes me not like them anymore. Got a first date that turned into almost 2 years worth of being emotionally dead inside. Pro tip before you ask out your crush, really get to know them. Made the mistake of thinking I could help someone very troubled, and turns out 99.9% of the time they just drag you down to their level. Wish I had someone to give me advice back then. Sucks we have to learn these things on our own. Got rejected. Became her friend. Met up for drinks after college 7 years later and wound up married to my best friend. Focused on myself and became a better version of me. Wild how attractive that can make you. She seemed to be throwing signs of interest because the first couple times we hung out through some mutuals she kept touching my arms and giving me little to no personal space and had us hang in the back from the group as we talked about philosophy and life. So, naturally, I thought we had chemistry and asked her out. We went to an art museum, got some food, talked about a whole variety of topics. There seemed to be some really good chemistry going on as we couldn't stop talking or joking around with each other. Dropped her off. She gave me a hug, a smile, and told me to text her, and then ghosted me after I attempted to start a conversation a few times throughout the week. Then I ran into her a month later and she apologized about ghosting me, but that she wanted to still be friends and that she's dealing with this one dude, but that she'd text me. Proceeds to give me a hug and explains how she really does like me as a person and my personality is intelligent and all. Another month passes and still haven't heard anything. Come to think of it, she talked a lot about her ex, made an unnecessary comment about my body type and how it's on the skinny side, not to be rude, and then proceeded to talk about how she wanted a sugar daddy, all while grabbing my arm and giving me no personal space whatsoever, and throwing compliments at me left and right. Very confused. Mixed messages. But I'm moving on cause it actually got me a bit neurotic. Not a good sign. But what else can you do? Oh, grave A circumflex A diaresis. Got told we should hang out as friends in a very condescending and disinterested way. I lost my job as a kindergarten teacher. Actually, I was a weird middle schooler, so what I was doing was trying to leave him a trail of hints to guess that I liked him. He guessed it was me before my climax because of the fact that I used cat stationery he'd seen me use before in a note for him. He gave me a birthday card telling me he'd guessed it was me, and admitting his own feelings for me. We'd been dating for 2.5 years. She hesitantly agreed, then just kinda never made time. Then we both moved on and went back to being friends. Haven't seen or heard from her since we finished school. Well, she sorta asked me out, but I defo had a crush. We had 2 kids and we are getting married. It's been 15 years. In high school. I'm not looking to date anyone right now. Especially not you. Well, ducking, ouch. Not trying to brag or anything, but I got rejected. I got a huge no into my face. Now I'm dating her twin sister. Just kidding about the twin sister. Sadly. In my freshman year of college, There was this beautiful girl that I saw around campus. Totally my type, and in the dining hall. I have never been the guy who was good with the ladies. I promised myself I would ask her out the next time I saw her. One day, I saw her, ran up to her, asked for her number. She looked at me with a disgusting look, said I like girls, and walked away in a hurry. Major fail. But in all seriousness, I was happy that I at least tried. After 6 months of both of us being too shy to even look at each other, I baked him some cookies, choc chip for those interested, and invited him to my housewarming party. We still never had the guts to say anything to each other, but we woke up next to each other and have hung around together ever since. I guess now that we're married with 2 kids, I should ask him out. I hope he says yes. So far I've been rejected a couple of times, but I've had one where I dated him a couple months until we friend-zoned. I'd like to think that I'm not at the moment in life where I'm supposed to be with someone, and that it'll come sometime in the future. Dated for 3 years and married for 12. I've had so many crushes before, and I've been rejected so many times I can't remember. But I can also remember every time I wasn't rejected and they were worth it. He asked me out on a date. We went out, had fun, went back to being just friends. Time passes. Graduation is fast approaching. He pours out his heart in a letter. Has basically given up at this point. I consider how much he means to me and how much losing him will hurt when we move off to college. Go over to his house, shoot him with a Nerf gun, a reference to his letter. We end up sitting on a couch in silence. I steel my nerves and reach out to hold his hand. Another reference to his letter. Will never forget the look in his eyes when he turned to me. Fast forward a few years. We are now crazy in love and engaged. Sometimes it pays off to ask out your crush. Boy, am I glad that he did. I'm on mobile. Sorry for formatting. We've been dating for close to 3 years. Bought our first house this summer and am planning on proposing soon. It's exactly like the well yes, but actually no meme. I get their number. We talk. It seems promising and then I get let down or ghosted. IG from flying in cloud 9 to a hard plummet back to reality and my depression. But at least I got to go to cloud 9 for that small amount time. That small taste is what keeps me trying. Was about to ask her out when she came out to me as gay. She's now one of my closest friends, so I guess that's a win. Neo through a copyright airing.